My name is Kaili Rose. As a photojournalist, music industry professional, photographer, and filmmaker, in addition to being a die-hard music lover, I've gotten to know many artists and bands as friends on a personal level. I've witnessed the struggles, drastic shifts and changes in the industry over the past 20 years, and most people don't really understand how much the industry has changed even before we dealt with a COVID pandemic. What I really want is to be a part of a discussion of what is now the state of the music industry in 2022. These ideas of how you gain success in music according to popular culture are no longer accurate. It's not that same picture from what we saw in the 1990s. The industry has essentially seen so many changes, and the end result is a very real set of pain points for emerging artists and established artists.
Yeah, we all opted out of the business world when we got into the music world, and now we're forced to make a lot of business decisions. And for a lot of us, it's very unsettling. It's counterintuitive to me when I think about being in a band.
You never know what's going to happen, and you can't waste any time, right? If you've got a dream or a goal or an idea, there's no better time than now to get it done, to see it through, because who knows what could happen tomorrow. And we decided to make our move. I mean, it was the biggest leap of faith I think anybody could make.
If I never see you again, at least I'll remember when. Have me walk in the room, your eyes met mine. You're not at the bar, and take my time to give my heart a chance to stop beating out my chest. You have me and what's your name and what's your drink, where you from and what you think if we get out of here, and what you think about this, and then you have me in your kiss. Yeah, you have me in your kiss. If you just lean on in, I bet you can have me again.
If you don't understand first and foremost that the music business is business first, music secondarily, then you don't have any business in this business. Because it gets murky, it gets dirty, it gets dark.
When the words can find you within reach.
I feel like the music industry has just changed so much. Yeah. It's changing like daily.
I mean, music as a career, it's always, it's always little, is this actually gonna go on forever, We started this like in music, and we'd go on a tour and be like, man, we're gonna have so much fun on this tour, because this might be the last time we ever get to go out and do this ever again.
That's the question I always ask myself, why do I do this? Why do I do this? What the hell's wrong with me? But then we do it, because when we get on stage, we're like, oh yeah, that's why. That's why. So. Embrace the suck. Embrace the suck, right? Like it's easy everybody to do it, right?
Absolutely. So, and like those are defining moments.
Earning our stripes.
Yeah.
And great stories. I mean, we have our road war stories that'll live forever. So.
Oh yeah.
once upon a time, it's like, oh, look at these guys, and then we're going to set them with a producer and give them this money and do this and this and develop this band. I don't think that really happens anymore, as far as I know, like that, not nearly like the old model. So now it's like, you need to be a band that's like, here we are, here's what we have, are you interested, you know?
Yeah.
The recording industry being like, you know, it used to be, there was a commodity that was sold that propped that industry up financially. That was how record labels made money, was by selling this product, this commodity. And they don't make that money anymore because no one buys them. So, and you know, streaming. And so now artists make their money off of touring and stuff like that. So the industry's completely changed in that respect. Parallel to that, there was also an industry that had been built up of A&R men. You know, it was this thing that was like a support system. You know, there's like a lot of great music that came out, particularly in the 60s and 70s, that was the reason that you and I have heard it is because of that industry. And that's gone too. You know, outlook not so good.
As a band, you need to get in front of people who are going to like your music, right? That's kind of like the goal. If I could find 1 million people who really like my band, I wouldn't be complaining about this. You know what I mean? Like you'd have the career that you want, or this would work, but you need to find that 1 million people. And how does a new person discover a new band? The general public is consuming and discovering new music through Spotify playlists. That's a really big one. So, you know, all these popular Spotify playlists that are you know, click rock. The first couple ones are like where most people are introducing. Things that are getting suggested to you on YouTube, things that are popping up in your newsfeed on Facebook, things that are popping up in your newsfeed on Instagram, things that are on television. And all these things are controlled by big money. They all have a monopoly on them by record labels who know this, that are using all their bands that they want to make money off, and they're just controlling it.
Indie artists, indie label, big time record label, big guys. The stereotypes that are there in place are usually based somewhat on truth. Let's be real, you know.
There are amazing record labels, and there are some business entities out there doing amazing things for amazing artists. There's always going to be the opposite of that. You're always going to have record labels who are preying on young artists and encouraging them to sign bad deals, and all of the we've seen 1 million documentaries and heard 1 million interviews of bands who have been taken for publishing or you name it. That's never going to go away. Unfortunately, that's always there.
Bobby Bones touched on this. He kind of let the cat out of the bag how number ones work with major labels. He's like, they're like baseball trading cards. He's like, oh yeah, we'll trade you here. Our guy gets this one this month, and we'll give you 2 for your label next month with your guy. And
I can see the value in it, and I think the right label would be great. I think the wrong label would be terrible, and I know several people in bands that have had deals that went south.
you feel obligated to snatch the first opportunity that comes along. And that fear of holding out for something better or holding out for something you feel would be better suited for you, not knowing if that offer or if that opportunity will ever come, is a terrifying position to be in.
Miley Cyrus, man. It's the climb, son.
It's the climb, man. It is the journey.
It is.
It's the journey, but if you just take an elevator straight there,
it'd be so cool, though.
Definitely easier.
We're on the stairs.
Less sweaty.
We're on the stairs.
Not even the escalator, dude.
Nope, we are on the stairs.
I may not see it. Sometimes I won't believe it. But you, with all your courage, take the wonder from my bones. Let it be enough for us. And let's hit the road.
All the artists that I've seen that have like made it really big, when I analyze their career, there's been things that happen to them that are very lucky, that you just can't really recreate, you know?
Now more than ever before, anybody can put music out. There's a lot of music that comes out every week, and it's a lot harder to break through the noise. You know, I love to believe that great music's just gonna sift to the top, but you know, it doesn't always happen. So I think getting heard and breaking through the noise is one of the biggest challenges right now.
As an independent artist in a completely oversaturated market, it's like the musical power giants. It's like playing a game of Monopoly, where they own Boardwalk, and I can't compete with that. The game has already been won. I don't know, the hardest things moving forward in your career are things that you would never think of. It's not writing music, it's not getting good at your instrument, it's not, I mean, I'm just saying that I don't think it's not playing shows, it's not all, it's like getting opportunities, it's just the hardest part. It's just, you kind of, I think you get stuck and you're like, you know?
So I don't think the industry's ever been perfect by any means, but I do think that it's so diluted now that there's not really any way to monetize yourself as an artist without being really creative or really, really shrewd.
We're going to play you a song dedicated to the great overlords of capitalism.
I wish artists got a little bit more, just a little. You know, if you get 0.0003 cents for a spin, that's bullshit. People are always surprised when I tell them what we make. Like, what? I mean, they've heard of that, but they're not aware of how low it is. So I'd like to see that change. I would love to see artists get a little bit more for what they create across the board.
I worry that we're going to get to a place where these platforms are so entrenched, these ways of thinking about art are so entrenched that, you know, it'll be a return to the days where basically in order to be an artist you have to either be rich or have a patron. And I don't think that's what anybody wants. I think the thing that excites people about this time, about the information age, about the relative cheapness of, you know, what would have been a supercomputer 50 years ago is in your pocket now.
is, you know, the supposed democratization of art. This idea that anybody can become an artist if they have cool ideas and they're willing to put the time in. But if you don't set your society, set your economy up in such a way that it's possible for those people to also, you know, put a roof over their head and food on their table, then you haven't really democratized anything.
I don't think anybody in the industry knows what the solution is. I know that when, you know, radio came onto the world, at first it was a jungle. There were no rules. If you had the record of the artist or you went to see him play, that's how you heard the music. Otherwise you couldn't have access to it. Then one day radio came on, government got involved, and they created this system of royalties based on radio plays, right?
Social media actually doesn't make sense without art. You know, streaming, whether it's Netflix or YouTube or Spotify or any of those things, that they literally just don't exist without art. And yet, I think in terms of the way that our society conceives of what artists are entitled to and how they need to be supported, it's just kind of presumed that stuff should be extremely cheap or free, and the people who actually have to put the blood, sweat, tears, years of their lives into making this stuff, it's up to them to figure out how to survive. And it's just not, it's clearly not a sustainable path that we're on.
There's always new technology and new things coming about. You know, I think the industry is already in a very bad place. If anything, that it could breathe some life into it and give, you know, more monetization opportunities to bands and artists. The musician pool is just, it's the most competitive it's ever been. So having more and more opportunities and especially ways to directly interact with fans, it's exciting. You know, I think it's a really good thing.
I think that streaming platforms is making music so available to everyone that it's easier for the little guys to shine through now.
When it's come down to COVID, to be honest with you, everything kind of switched over into this virtual world. So it's like I've been kind of getting a lot more into like the Web3 situation and figuring out NFTs and the metaverse, because MLM has been going really deep in depth when it comes down to the Web3 stuff, because we see a future in it, like a real big future in it. And I'm a digital being. I already know it. I'm gonna be cool on computers just as much as I'm cool in real life.
One of my favorite sayings, or one of my favorite terms, is we're just trying to build the plane as we fly it. And what I mean by that is, as you watch the industry change, and it changes very quickly, and using the pandemic as an example, and even 5 years ago and 10 years ago, the way we as artists present our product, if you will, to the consumer, it changes very, very quickly. And whether or not you like to admit it to yourself, you have to keep up with what is happening. You don't necessarily have to participate in all of it, but you need to know how the industry that you're working in is operating.
80% of your time, I feel like, or 75% of your time nowadays is, especially as an indie, is balancing all that other stuff that has nothing to do with the reason you got into this in the first place, which is creating music. And it's difficult, man. It is a hard thing to balance.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like, we have to really find time just to do the actual music part, like rehearse.
If you choose to remain independent, it comes with a lot more legwork. And
you know, we've had to learn a lot of things that, you know, on the business end of things, most artists don't naturally have. You know, we have an inclination to create. But we've had to learn also how to promote, how to reach out to people, how to, you know, all these other things that, you know, take us out of the creative space and into the business world, basically.
But to me, it's all kind of just noise. Like, honestly, I don't understand how that relates to making music or putting music out. There's so much going on that if you're focusing on all that stuff, then how could you ever have time to focus on music or the relationships that you need to build to make good music?
We're in a world where, you know, social media stats, even to labels and all these other people that want to, investors, you know, they all want to see social stats. You know, they want to see, you know, man, how many followers do you have on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok?
We're transitioning more towards popularity contests and vanity metrics. Like, you can buy your streams now, you can pump up your numbers and your monthly listeners, and people will be like, oh, that person's really popping, but it's just bought.
It's definitely work. It's not just you take a picture, post it, and that's it.
With social media, so everybody has access to those same tools. And while that's a great thing, use the term white noise, I guess, if you will. How do you set yourself apart from everybody else who has the same resources and the same, everybody's talking at the same volume. So you have to try to figure out how to stand out and do something different.
It's a beautiful and terrible thing, which usually when we're innovating or we're moving towards a new model, it kind of gets that like juxtaposition.
You do have to make compromises, you have to take chances, you have to minimize that risk as best you can, but it's hard. When you're in the middle of it, it's hard to figure out where the lines are.
Understanding things, the industry, from those most impacted, in my mind, is the best way we can start to take music to a more sustainable place for everyone. Maybe that's hopeful, but at least as music fans, we can start to try to understand.
Maybe I'm just a fool.
My favorite question to ask, regardless of artist or genre or city, was one simple question. What is your why?
So I'm just obsessed with it, and I literally know nothing else. So I would be in trouble if I didn't have music.
To be able to tell stories, you know? Like, I mean, it's just from like... That's what it is. I can't properly express myself any other way.
For me, I had a lot of trouble growing up, and music kind of was my outlet to feel not alone in it, you know, and that was like my driving factor for the longest time, is connecting with people. I wanted to create what was there for me. Like, it seemed like my purpose, you know, which sounds really corny. But it felt like my purpose was to do what I'm doing.
You know, applause is great, but it's really fleeting. And, you know, 15 minutes after I get off stage, I feel lonely and depressed and all that. So that doesn't work as a motivation. But what does work as a motivation is the idea of sharing important ideas, speaking up for people who don't have access to the reach that I do, and hopefully building a platform, you know, accumulating resources that I can then redirect to those people.
What's great about music is it's this universal language that you don't have to understand to speak. You don't have to know the alphabet or anything. and it impacts you in a way that you respond to, and it impacts every single person.
The music industry in 2022, having scraped itself through massive upheavals in technology, streaming, monetization, and at the mercy of attentionscapes like social media, went on to be pummeled by 2 years of pandemic and shutdown. It's now a very different beast.
It's so good to be here. We came a long way, and we still got so long to go.
From these perspectives, we are going to build subsequent films with the goal of gaining a deeper understanding of each of these issues from the artist experience.